Okay, how are you, sir? My name is Nye McGee with EUR Web. Thank you
Hi,
for giving me
Nye.
your time
Hi.
today.
Thank you for giving me your time. This is so kind. You're doing me a favor.
No, you don't understand. I've been following your journey since Slave Play made its Broadway debut. So when I got the email asking, would you like to interview him? I was like, look at how the Lord works. This is wild. You are taking us, the viewers and fans of Slave Play, behind the scenes in so many words with this new HBO documentary that's coming out. So, what inspired you to create the documentary Slave Play, Not a Movie, a Play? And how does it complement the theatrical experience of Slave Play?
Well, I mean, so the inception is a very complicated thing, and it started out as something very different that I wasn't directing, that I wasn't at first directing, and then became something very, very close to me, which was like a sort of like companion piece, right? Like, I mean, again, this was a beautiful accident of 2020, this gift from 2020, where we all had a lot of time to think and process. I've been working on this movie for 4 years. And it became more about me using this object I made to both give a gift to the fans of the work and also to learn a new medium in real time. And I think I really fell in love with this medium as I was learning it, you know? And that's so much the process of what you're witnessing in the play or the film is this sort of like look at me looking at a thing that I made while also teaching myself how to make it and like being as vulnerable as the students were then. And I think that that's the thing that I wanted to like offer up to like the audience writ large, which is that like I think that one of the things that was really interesting about Slave Play is that like it's one of the few plays that's had a lot of media attention and a lot of like conversation and discourse. And I think that like what I wanted to offer up to the world was a recognition of what theater at its best is, which is the chance to try and fail in public, right? And like to do something that like is on that razor's edge of success and failure, right? It's not supposed to be a perfect object. And I think that like that metaphor really finds a lot of life and legs in this doc, or I hope it does.
But were you surprised? I mean, so when you reflect on your journey, did you anticipate the response? At what point did it hit you? Wow, this is bigger than I could have ever imagined.
No, it was literally when I wrote it at Yale, the thing I imagined for it was that it would be a play that I would self-produce at Abrams Art Center after I did my second or third year project, because most of the playwrights I like and love are indie off Broadway playwrights and or dance makers. And when New York Theater Workshop wanted to do it and a couple other theaters wanted to do it, I was like, oh, that's weird. That's interesting. Oh, I guess that's like the beauty of being sort of like blessed with the gift of gab. But it'll still be one of the odder plays of the season. And I knew by that point, by the time we were going off Broadway, that it was gonna be that it was going to work with audiences because I had seen it work with audiences at Yale and the Eugene O'Neill Theater Center. What I did not expect was to go viral, and that virality to like that virality would also like in part like sort of both raise the profile of the play, but also like really shed a like make it this sort of like huge nuclear bomb. It was crazy. I had no idea. So I think I knew when the media takeout article came out. In like I think that was like October 2020 or I mean 2017. That was when I was like, oh, this play is going to be a really big deal.
And so, on that note, going back to the documentary for HBO, what challenges did you face in capturing the essence and intensity of slave play in documentary format?
I think just the fact that like, you know, no one can ever like we weren't the biggest challenge was that no one filmed anything while it was happening. We didn't film anything while it was happening, right? So we had to go to like the sort of like archive that is YouTube. And I'm so grateful that so much was there and that so many people said yes, even the people who don't like me or the play said yes to letting us use that image. Because I think without the sort of onslaught of digital ephemera about the play, we would have not had anything in the way of like telegraphing or expressing that sort of I'm gesturing, all of that,
How does the documentary explore the behind the scenes dynamic between you and the cast and the crew during the workshop process?
I think it shows all those things in real time. I think that like this interview, if anything, I hope becomes an invitation for them to watch and see. And so by the time they see it, they'll only have like a couple days to meet it. So I hope that like yeah, you'll have to watch and see because I don't know that I can talk about it as anything other than like in process. You watch us all in process.
Are there any memorable or impactful moments from the documentary that stand out to you?
I would say, I mean, so much of the documentary stands out to me. The process of making it, I would say that like the thing that is most significant were the times I spent with my editors, Techie, and then significantly with Pete O's. Those two really helped me see what I was doing and navigate it in this really interesting way. And it was a real enlivening experience.
Phrase it. How has the experience of creating this documentary influenced your perspective on theater, storytelling, and your future projects?
I mean, it's like this movie is propaganda to make kids want to do theater. And I think that like everything, it didn't change how I felt. It emboldened how I felt about the necessity of theater. So I hope a lot of kids watch this and disappoint their parents soon by saying they don't want to go to school to be an engineer. They want to go to a drama conservatory and be a playwright.
So, on that note, speaking of those kids, and they say that to their parents, and their parents were like, and their parents respond, well, let me sit down and watch. What is this slave play? Not a movie, not a play. Let me watch this. What do you hope those parents take away from this documentary?
The same thing my mom took away when I went to my first drama school, which is that like theater is an all-encompassing passion that actually has a necessity in our communities. Because it does something that no other medium can do.
And, going back to what you said earlier, when slave play initially went viral, and obviously the themes of this play are quite provocative. So, how did you handle, or how have you been handling the reactions and controversies that have arisen from its content?
I mean, I'm a Gemini, so it's just like I'm a Gemini and I'm well read. So like I'm not like I handle them with humor, with grace, and sometimes like indelicately. But like I think that the for the most part, I constantly reminded myself of the fact that like I have not written the most controversial thing ever, no matter what someone on the internet might think or say. I actually wrote something that was like that's been written a lot about before by a lot of Black writers in a lot of different ways. And it was very interesting to see that like issues that communities had with like queer Black art in the 1920s were the same issues they had with it in the 2020s.
Right on. So, earlier this year, I received and I'm reading my notes here, I'd received a press release about your infamous blackout nights, right? And there was some controversy, not only when we reported on this, and I know your blackout nights aim to provide a unique and freeing environment. The write up that I received said, for Black identifying audience members. And so, some of my writers at the time when we reported on this, some of my readers, and then even some of my listeners on the podcast, I have to ask you this, Jeremy. I hope you don't mind a really quick, tough question as my last question. They're like, sir, what does Black identifying mean? Especially in this age of identity, self identity, living your best life. Someone jokingly asked, and I'm just going to throw it out to you. So, what if a white trans woman showed up on Black Out Night and said she identified as Black? Could she get in? So, I'm asking you, sir, can you discuss a little bit about the impact and reaction and inspiration about Blackout Night and what does it mean for you, Black identifying audience members?
Well, first I'd say that, like, to the person who said, what would it mean if a white trans woman came and said she was black? I would say, like, to the person asking that question, like, I think that's like a transphobic, like, sort of straw man argument that, like, literally has no basis in anything but like a chance to like poke fun at transness, which I find annoying. But I would say the reason we use the word black identifying was in order to make, there are a lot of people who are black by birth, who are lighter skinned, who never felt comfortable in black spaces, who might feel as though showing up to a space for all black people would they would once again be met with those anxieties of, is my hue dark enough? So we said, if you identify as black because your mom is black or your grandmother was black and you want to come to this night, come to this night. You know what I mean? And it was a, people can poke or do it, but I do think that it allowed a lot of people to like release some tension in their back around what it would mean to walk into a blackout night for a show.
I love it. I love it. That was my same reaction on my podcast. I'm like, listen, there are a lot of multi-ethnic people in the world. They're racially defined as racially ambiguous, but they identify as black. So, Jeremy, thank you, sir. Thank you for giving me your time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.